Good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of the ARCA Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Star Parker Colby Evans. It's great to be back on a Wednesday night. Covering some West Series action. We got the main series back this weekend after a much well-deserved week off. We'll get into our short little intro show, and then we'll get right into the action here because we got a big show for you guys tonight. We got a fun road course race to go over. We also got a crazy race in Irwindale to go over and some news that just hit the market. Even though this is the ARCA Racing Podcast, we have some NASCAR news that just hit the market that is very big that I kind of want to gloss over for just a brief second. So we'll go over that too. And, of course, just some more fun ARCA news in general. Again, guys, like and subscribe to the channel. We just hit 350 subs. Thank you guys for your continued support. Much appreciated. We just reached over 3,500 followers on Twitter. Again, much appreciated, guys. I cannot thank you enough for the continued support. Let's get right into the show, but follow me on those platforms. Go follow my friends, ARCA, Brockbeard, NASCAR Man, all those guys. They help make this channel what it is. So let's get right into it. We had the ARCA West Series at Irwindale, one of my all-time favorite short tracks, and a short track that I really wish would get more love by other series. You cannot tell me that the Xfinity Series, the Truck Series would not put on a good show there. I don't think it's possible for Irwindale to really put on a bad show. It's a really, really entertaining facility, really entertaining track, and it was so great to see a great car count there. Unfortunately, the first Irwindale race really struggled for cars. They only had, 15 for that one. And I was pointing that to the real world issues that were happening at the time, that maybe we would see those kind of Westfield struggling. But luckily, we have seen that as the season has gone on, car counts have gotten a lot better. And that's what we all like to see. That's what we all wanted to see. We wanted to see the car counts get better. And I'm just happy to see that. I'm seeing in the chat, guys, birthday messages. Yes, I did turn 21. So thank you again for those birthday messages. Yeah, I know it feels weird. I'm closer to 25 than I was 15. Thank you all for the birthday messages. I highly, highly appreciate that. It's great to have a lot of friends in this business. It means a lot to me personally because I never had a lot of friends growing up. But yeah, so we had 22 cars on the initial entry list for this race. Unfortunately, one withdrew. I believe it was the 38 of Jalen Mack. I don't know what happened to that team. I tried searching for Facebook because a lot of these times, while they might not have Twitters, a lot of these West teams will run through Facebook accounts. But unfortunately, I could not find any Facebook accounts of Mack Motorsports, the 83, not the 30. I knew it was one of those. But I couldn't find any updates to what was happening with them. So I never got a clear answer of what happened with the 83 team of Jalen Mack. But either way, they had withdrawn from the race, unfortunately. So that took us down to 21. Still a very solid field, considering, like I said, we had 15 in the last one. 6 more cars. And they weren't even starting parks. Just 6 more full race entries. We did see the return of a few new entries, a few drivers, and some new combinations. We had Bradley Erickson, who was driving a second car for the Naki Kluwer Motorsports team. Eric Red was making his first appearance since Phoenix, where he crashed in practice. Amber Slago was back in the 17. Landon Lewis was taking over the 16 for Austin Herzog. And the 12 of Kyle Keller was back in a car from Jerry Pitts Racing. And Trevor Huddleston was back as well in the High Point Racing team that was formerly ran by Dean Thompson last season. Now, I wanted to talk about it for a quick second. I had said it on the show here that I was not impressed with Austin's performance and his couple of races so far this season. But I feel like that's really pointed to all of Bill McNally Racing. They're at 98 wins. They're trying to get to that elusive 100. But I think we can all agree here, Bill McNally Racing, ever since they switched to Chevrolet, has really struggled. Their truck team is doing fine. But their ARCA West team has really, really struggled. They don't seem to have the speed at all close to what they used to have last year with the Toyotas. And it even showed tonight. Landon Lewis, for a lot of the time this race, really did struggle. I mean, he still got a top 5 finish out of it, but I think that was just based off of Landon's pure talent. The car itself, BMR in general, just seems really down this year, which is shocking to see considering, they've won the last 2 championships in the driver's points and the owner's points. Whereas Sunrise Ford, a team like Sunrise Ford, who has, been struggling for wins, struggling to be in the championship hunt, they've just been demolishing the field. So, and it's great to see, Bob Roncati, he's getting up there in age. He's almost 80. It's great to see that team doing so good again. It really, really is. So yeah, we had 21 cars here going into practice, the practice qualifying session. It was obvious that once again, he was going for 3 in a row, but Jake Drew is going to be tough to beat. Jake Drew would wind up winning the pole. PJ Pedroncelli, I always get those names confused. They have Paul Pedroncelli Sr. listed on the entry list, but his name is PJ, or he goes by PJ. Colmore was 3rd. Sebastian Arias got his best qualifying run of the season in 4th. Trevor Huddleston was 5th. Tanner Reff, the first winner at Irwindale, was 6th. Jake Finch, who I thought would be a race-winning contender, was down in 7th. Todd Souza was 8th. Takuma Koga was 9th, and Kyle Keller was 10th. The 31 of Paul Pedroncelli decided not to take a lap, with the last 4 being Burgess, Loudon, Red, and Tuttle. Like I said, guys, I only expected 1 starting park here, of course, the 31. Sure enough, that was the case. After his 2 laps, he pulled off. So just want to get that out of the way. So the race started, and, like usual, Irwindale, even on fresh tires, is a hard track to pass on. That's what we've seen over the years. Even on fresh tires, you really have to have a good car to get past people at that track. And, could you point that to why we didn't see a lead change? Possibly. But I think it just really showed that Sunrise Ford is on another level this season. Because they dominated the first race there with Tanner Reff. I think he led almost flag to flag. And tonight they showed the exact same speed. The race started, and the early lead went out to Jake Drew. And he was just picking him up and laying him down. I was tracking his times. He was only slowing down by maybe 3 or 4 tenths of a second, even 30 laps into the race, catching lap traffic. He was absolutely flying up there. Very early was catching the back part of the field and putting them laps down. So yeah, like I said, 2 laps in, Paul Pedroncelli Sr., he went to the garage. And then very mysteriously, 19 laps in, Bradley Erickson went to the garage. After 19 laps for a rear end issue. And it made me think, was this a starting park? I don't want to believe this was a starting park. Did they have a legit rear end issue? Or, was it a starting park? I don't want to believe it was, because the Naki Kluwer Motorsports team usually run full races. And I wouldn't think that a new guy like Bradley would pay that kind of money to get into a Naki Kluwer car, because that's a good car. That's a good car to just run a couple laps. So I had to think it was a real rear end issue, which is a shame because that is a good car. I fully expect he qualified 11th. I mean, he could have got a top 10 finish tonight based on how the results went. But continuing on, so those 2 cars were out, and like I said, he was just picking up and laying them down. The 88 of Burgess, the 7 of Koga, the 7 of Yonides, the 66 of Red, the 39 of Tuttle. We're just going lap after lap after lap down. Loden was getting caught. East was getting caught. 42 of Rose was getting caught. By the first caution that came out on lap 58, we had not seen a pass for the lead. Drew was just checking out. Meanwhile, 2nd through 5th was just absolutely going against each other between, Cole Moore, Trevor Huddleston, Tanner Reff, and Sebastian Arias, who was hanging up there, but eventually would fall back in the field. It just seems to be a common theme with the Eric Nascimento team that they can qualify really good, but for some reason, Sebastian just can't seem to keep the same speed up in the race. We've seen that. So yeah, that caution came out. Sebastian would get the free pass on that first caution. And we saw some surprising cars nearly go a lap down and then eventually go a lap down. Both the one of Jake Finch and the 16 of Landon Lewis both went a lap down in that first run, which was extremely shocking to see. Because I would not have expected Landon Lewis to perform as bad. Now, he did have to start at the rear of the field. And it's a track, like I said, that is very hard to pass on. So you mix the fact that the car itself may not have been perfectly up to standard, and, you know, BMR just hasn't shown quality, really great speed all year. It was just kind of shocking to see. I fully expected Landon to go right up there and stay on the lead lap, but no, sure enough, he went a lap down. And so did Jake Finch. They were running a new paint scheme, so I'm not sure if this was a new car for the one team, or if this was the same car that they had been running in the East races with just a new wrap. I'm hoping it means they have a second car, because hopefully that means that Phoenix Racing will get more into ARCA. I think it's a great place for Jake to grow before he gets into the big leagues, because I could see Jake Finch. He's been very good on the late model circuit. I really could see him rising through the ranks of the lower tier NASCAR series and hopefully one day get to the big leagues. But, and then it seemed like, you know, the old saying, guys, cautions breed cautions. Well, that's exactly what happened. Although we had only about 8 cars on the lead lap, we eventually got a lot more back. 2 laps later, after the 77 spun of Nick Jonidas, 2 laps later, the 88 of Bridget Burgess, the 16 and the 7 all got together in turn 4. The 7 suffered pretty decent damage to the front. The 88 would be unfortunately retired due to a steering box issue. And the 16 wasn't really damaged. He was just kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. No real damage to 16, though. So Landon Lewis's day wasn't hurt. The 7 was severely hurt, and the 88 was forced to drop out. So that kind of sucked that took out a couple of good cars. Jake Finch would get the free pass on that lap. Restart on lap 72. Again, the 6 just checks out. It's amazing how well the launching speed of those Sunrise Ford cars were this season, where even, you know, the High Point car that also is a Sunrise Ford car couldn't get, just couldn't stay with them, couldn't go around with them. Okay, so moving on. 3 laps later, we had another caution. The 33, my man, PJ Pedroncelli, unfortunately got turned around in turn 3. Both Irwindale races have not been kind to the Pedroncellis. 33 had literally the door starting to rip off in the first race. And in this race got turned around, heavy damage to the rear of the car, had to spend a lot of time getting it fixed, and it just killed the overall speed of the car, and he would unfortunately suffer a disappointing run for the rest of the stay, despite starting second. Free pass on this one was the 42 of Christian Rose. They would go back to green again. That was also listed, since it was lap 75, it was listed as the halfway break. There was no 50, 50, and 100. It was simply just lap 75. Of course, teams would change tires, fill it up with fuel, because these gas tanks, you know, theoretically, these guys probably could have went the whole race on one tank of fuel. With all the cautions we had, these guys probably could have went the whole race, if not almost the entire whole race. So yeah, I do like, again, I love that cost-cutting measure. I know fans like the live pit stops, but you guys got to remember, it was not like this, man, in the late 90s. The 80s and 90s, we never really had many live pit stops in these series. You know, I understand, you know, the real pit stops were fun in ARCA, but when you look at the payouts listed, you know, why would you spend $1,300, $1,400 on a pit crew when that's your payout? You know, you're basically taking the payout that you would get from ARCA for your pit crew, and unless you had sponsorship, you were just turning absolutely no profit. So while I understand the move was a little negatively received, I do appreciate the move to have cost-cutting measures, especially come down in the West Circuit, where I feel like the, you know, competitive pit crew side is not really needed as much, because the on-track action really shows that you don't need competitive pit crews in the West Series to put on a heck of a show. So continuing on in the race, 4 laps later, the 11 of Chris Loudon would get spun around. No real damage to the car. He would continue. 17 of Amber Slega would get the free pass. And it was actually after this run where, we had a pretty decent run of cars. We still had 18 out there, but we didn't have any crashes for 34 laps. Everyone was staying pretty clean. Once again, a lot of the field was going laps down. He would catch the 11, the 77, the 7, the 66 all pretty quickly. Those cars were heavily off the pace. It's like almost they didn't have an extra set of tires to change, and maybe they were just on the same start tires, which is probably where they were going even slower, considering their lap times weren't any quicker, even with newer tires. So wouldn't have shocked me that maybe some of the guys in the back of the West field didn't have a set of tires to change, and they were just going with what they had for one set. And that's what I do like. General Tire does bring a great tire that is capable of going flag to flag on one set. In the main ARCA series, we've done that with Brad. We're off the pace, but still being able to run 150 laps on the same set of tires really does show you that General Tire brings a solid tire to the series that these low-budget teams can really take advantage of. So I applaud General Tire for bringing a very solid tire to the series. While I miss Hoosier, I'm not going to lie, I miss Hoosier tires. But we still have a great supplier in General Tire, and I thank General Tire for really giving the West guys a solid tire to where, they can't afford two sets, but dang, you can at least get the most out of one good set of tires. Especially at a track like Irwindale, which the pavement there is not very fresh, and it does eat up the tires pretty good. Unfortunately, that clean 34-lap run would literally come down to a crashing halt. The 42 of Christian Rose crashed in turn 3 and 4 with the 77 of Nick Ionides, or Janitis. Sorry, I always get that name botched. 77 Takuma Koga was also heavily involved. Just a hard crash. Probably one of the hardest West crashes I really have seen in a long time. I did not expect to see that much damage on these cars, but all three cars were just extremely damaged for a short track. I have not seen a crash like that in a long time. It was a very weird crash. It was kind of two separate incidents that they ended up coming together. The 42 and the 77 kind of got together, and the 7 of Koga just kind of had nowhere to go. Christian Rose, I don't know what's happening with him this year, but he has just had downright horrible luck. Has he even finished a race this season? I mean, seriously, can anyone answer me that question? Has the 42 of Christian Rose finished a race this season? And if he has finished a race this season, has he even finished competitive? Whether it's engine failures or crashing, Christian has just had a downright horrible year. In any division, in an East race, main race, or West race, I honestly don't think he's finished. And it's got to be over 10 races at this point. Bruce Cook Racing has shown they got a great organization over there. And I understand Christian, he's got the sponsorship money, which, everyone likes. But man, if you're not producing the results, I mean, Bruce has got race-winning equipment, and it's just Rose, even in the qualifying sessions, has just not been showing very solid speed at all. But I'm glad he was okay because it was a rough hit. But still, I mean, it just seems like whether it's a mechanical failure or a crash or just flat out not running competitive, the 42 of Christian Rose is just having a horrible season in the ARCA series. And I don't like to see anyone fail. But man, it's really well known at this point. But yeah, so all three cars were heavily
damaged. Sucks to see that for Jerry Pitts and Takuma. Many of you guys remember, for anyone who watched the Sonoma race, Koga's car was also involved in a crash, which the car was just absolutely totaled. It was a Gen 4 fiberglass body car, and that car was flat out destroyed too. So two, I would say, totaled cars for Jerry Pitts Racing in the last 2 weeks. But thankfully, Takuma Koga brings along some great sponsorships, some great partners, and hopefully Jerry Pitts Racing and Takuma can recover. Because I'm a big fan of Takuma. Takuma's got a good fan base, and I really feel like if they would, I've always said this, if they would really shine some light on Takuma, because Takuma and I are friends online, and he's really a cool guy. Like, not many people have seen the set of Takuma Koga that I have. I really wish the West Series would do a spotlight on him, because if fans really got to know the real Takuma Koga, everybody would love him. The way his kids racing go-karts, it's just adorable. This guy is so cool. I really wish that ARCA or somebody would do a special on Takuma. He's a lot more cooler than people think he is. He really is. And he's a great Japanese ambassador for the sport. He's got a huge fan base over there. Really hope someday that someone does something on Takuma Koga. People like to rag on him for crashing a lot, but that's kind of everybody in the West Series. I mean, is there really someone in the West Series that hasn't crashed a bunch? But yeah, so that's just my thing on Takuma. I hate to see him struggling this much this season because, in 2021, he had a great season, but this season has been a real struggle for him so far. But yeah, moving on after that, that took us down to just 15 cars. And even then, like I said, after a long run, the cautions continued to fall. 5 laps later, the 39 of Andrew Tuttle got spun. It just seems like every race this season, Andrew Tuttle, Andrew just keeps seeing him involved in an accident. He's only got the one car, I believe. He's got a red window net just like the Peterson team does. But yeah, Andrew's one car sure has taken a beating. Andrew's one car sure has taken a beating, so I'm glad he's still showing up. But yeah, that car, I'm glad he hasn't totaled it yet, but that car sure has taken a beating this season. But it's still great to see, low-budget guys who, even like I said, with the real-world issues, guys like Andrew Tuttle still showing up every week, giving it his best shot. Props to you, man. It can't be easy, especially with this point. So props to Andrew Tuttle for still showing up. Thankfully, the car wasn't hurt. The free pass was very vital there. Landon Lewis, he had been a lap down up till lap 134. So think about that, guys. He was not on the lead lap again until with 15 laps to go in the race. So the fact that he still managed to get a top 5 finish, again, that shows to me he's got the speed. BMR, though, has to figure out the long-run speed. That, to me, has been their Achilles heel. Because we've seen in the ARCA West Series this season, sometimes we can go green for 60 laps, like tonight, or like the race we saw on Saturday night. The race can go green for 60 laps. It can go green for 3 laps. You got your short track speed, which the 16 does have. It's the long run speed that I think the 16 and BMR are really lacking. So moving on, 9 laps later, we had just another hard crash. I mean, this was a really, really tough night for some hard crashes, which is something we don't usually see in the West Series. The 13 and the 54 got I don't know if it was a separate incident. They got together. We never really saw a real replay. But the 54 of Joey East was just absolutely destroyed. I don't know if any of you guys who are watching with me saw this race live, but the 54 was just totaled. I mean, I have not seen a West car look that wrecked in a long time. It was really good to see Joey get out of the car. I mean, thank God they got that second 84 car. They're probably going to need that one for the next race. I don't see that car they ran at Irwindale running for the rest of the year. The 66 of Eric Red was also involved. He sustained some pretty serious damage to the right rear. And the 11, if you guys saw in my opinion, the right Reese's sweet move of the race winner, Chris Loudon just barely misses the full ARCA breaking into the field, into the wreck. So I didn't want to see that 11 team, get it wrecked. But yeah, some really, really hard crashes tonight. And again, took out a couple more competitive cars. So yeah, that set us up for a green-white checkered finish. Can Jake Drew, who's led every lap up to this point, hold them off? Race went green, just like always. He got a huge launch into turn 1, and they were and all they could do was jossie for second. Cole Moore, after running 4th and 5th most of the race, was able to get up to second, but again, nobody could catch the 6.
And 3 in a row, baby. 4th win of the season, 40th overall for Sunrise Ford Racing. Jake Drew gets 3 straight wins in the ARCA West Series in the 2022 season. His very first at Irwindale. Domination by Sunrise. Holy crap, they are walking away with the 2022 Drivers and Owners Championships. It is unbelievable to see because it has been a long time since we've seen Sunrise Ford be this dominant. You know, even back when it was the NASCAR K&N series, Sunrise Ford, they were always there, but they were never the best team. I think this is the first time in a long time where we can flat out say that Sunrise Ford Racing is the best team in the ARCA West series. And that's very shocking to say because Bill McNally has been there for years and might even still continue to be there for years to come. But for now, Sunrise Ford is owning the 2022 season. Cole Moore wound up 2nd. Trevor Huddleston ended up 3rd. Kyle Keller, shout out to Kyle Keller for the Jerry Pitts team, finishing 4th. Landon Lewis finished in 5th. He got up to 5th on that last restart. Jake Finch finished 6th. Tanner Reff, despite leading almost every lap in the first race at Irwindale, he would come home, I would say, a disappointing 7th place. Sebastian Arias was 8th. Amber Slagle, top 10 finish. She was 9th. Todd Souza was 10th. PJ Pedroncelli down in 11th. Chris Loudon down in 12th. And 14th, Andrew Tuttle were the last cars running. 13 of our 21 starters took the checkered flag while running on track. Notables, Joey East finished 13th. Christian Rose down in 16th. Takuma in 18th. Bridget in 19th. The standings following this race, I mean, guys, at this point, it really does seem like Sunrise Ford is walking away with this championship. Jake Drew holds an astounding 45-point lead over Cole Moore. And I'm telling you guys, with these short fields that we don't really see, that we see most in the ARCA West series, I could very well see Jake Drew. I mean, if he just finishes in the top 5 the rest of the season, he's got the championship locked up. It's that simple. If he finishes in the top 5, that's all he's got to do. But I think it is safe to say we have our champion. Now, I think you want to say never, you know, because you look at Jesse Love last season, he nearly lost his championship with a couple of bad runs. But we have 5 races left in the season. I mean, I would say if you manage to lose the championship at this point with the kind of point lead you got with the short field sizes, that would be pretty embarrassing. Sunrise Ford, in my opinion right now, already has the championship locked up. Did I just jinx them? Probably, but we'll see. But yeah, Jake Drew's leading by 45 points over Cole Moore. Tanner Reff is 3rd. minus 49. Todd Souza is 4th, minus 50. And PJ Pedroncelli is 5th, minus 63. So that tells you just how far behind these guys are. Realistically, there's only 3 drivers who even have a chance at catching him at this point. And even then, that is so unrealistic because Todd Souza has not shown the competitive speed that he showed last year. Maybe Tanner Reff and Cole Moore have a shot, but it's just not looking like it's going to happen. Jake Drew is the only guy this season also to complete almost every lap this season. He has the most laps of any driver completed in the West Series this season. All 709 laps ran this season. Jake Drew is the only driver to also run all of that. So that's another very impressive statistic. The same goes for the Owners' Championship. Bob Rincotti is leading 45 points over Bill McNally. So that's the West Series. Again, they put on a great race. I've said it last year and I said it this year. The West Series really deserves more spotlight. They put on some amazing races, and I really feel like it just doesn't get talked about enough. And it's a shame because we got a lot of great drivers in that series. We got a lot of young rookies, a lot of old rookies who could really show what they got in the bigger leagues. Like, I really wish Takuma would run more mainstream races in the main circuit. I wish, Landon Lewis would run more races in the main series.
I wish, like we could see PJ in more main series races, more races for Jake Drew. I want to see these guys really go up against the big guns in the main ARCA series because I really feel like it would show what these guys are really made of. But yeah, is it easy to say that Bob Roncati might have a 2022 championship in his pocket? Well, yes, remember, Jake Drew lost the championship on the last lap of last year's race last season. So we can't give it to anyone at this point. They're still fuming about that right now. But anyway, guys, that was the West portion of the show. We do have a couple of fun things to talk about before we do get to the Mid-Ohio Main Series ARCA portion of the show. We were happy to find out that Joe Cooksey, yes, you guys remember Joe Cooksey? He was an ARCA driver that drove back in the 90s and early 2000s, is really up to about 2018. He will return to the ARCA Racing Series at the dirt track. I believe it'll be Springfield or DuQuoin, one of them, maybe even both. I don't think the team has been named yet. Maybe Fast Track or his own organization. I'm not sure. But good to hear that Joe Cooksey's back for one more ride. Always good to see Joe back. He's kind of, like I said, one of the older guys of the sport. Not even really all that old. I think he's in late 40s, early 50s. He's not an old guy of the series. But still great to see him come back after being gone for a couple years and, being in the ARCA series for well over 20 years to that point. So great to see that. Also great to hear that Ken Schrader, once again, will be back at the dirt races for Andy Hillenberg at DuQuoin. Ken, I believe, got third last year. But remember, DuQuoin last year, that race was a mess. I really hope we don't get a mess of DuQuoin in 2022 like we did last year. Some NASCAR news I wanted to talk about just very briefly. Looks like the Chicago Street Course is a go. I am not really in favor of that. I've seen some street course racing from, the other series. It's not been really all that entertaining. Yes, if you guys also did see some more DuQuoin news, quick sidetrack before we get back to the NASCAR. The 24 team of Bill Hendren and Ryan Unzinger have announced that this will be their last year of racing. So, they're really going to give everything they got. Unzinger is probably going to show up with the best piece he's ever ran. But yeah, so that sucks to see. But I can easily say DuQuoin and Springfield might have the biggest fields that we've seen in a long time. But yeah, going back to NASCAR, I'm not exactly in full favor of that. I'm optimistic to any idea. I'm optimistic to any new track we go to. But a street race, man, let's go to Road Atlanta. Let's go to Road Atlanta instead. Or it's like there's plenty of other tracks in the U.S. that are easily capable of holding a cup race. I'm going to give it an opportunity, man, but I don't know what you guys think. I know this is the ARCA podcast, but I wanted to bring that up because it's kind of been the biggest news story of the last, week. What is NASCAR going to do? Is Road America going bye-bye? And is Chicago Street here to stay? I still miss Daytona as the July 4th race. I'm willing to give it a try, but man, if that crowd attendance and the TV attendance bombs, well, we have to stick with that for 2 more years. But I also don't like the fact that it's a 3-year deal, where if it bombs in the first year, we're stuck with it for 2 more years. I don't really like that. Like I said, I've been pledging for years. Why don't we give Iowa a chance? It's a great facility. It's a great track. I don't know why we don't give Iowa a chance. I don't know why we don't give Road Atlanta a chance. That's just my personal opinion, but it is what it is. I just wanted to talk about that briefly. You guys can talk about it in the chat in the comment section, but I don't think it's needed. I don't think it's necessary. And with all due respect, I think it's going to bomb. I really do. People have tried to tell me that it's going to be a great race because I've seen clips. I've seen clips of the Canadian Tire Series, the Penny Series on the street courses, but those are completely different cars. These next-gen cars are completely different from, Penny Series cars. They're not going to handle the same. They're not going to drive the same. So no, don't show me that because you're not going to compare it like that. I mean, if we see less than a pass for the lead, that shows you right there it's not a good idea. But this is the ARCA podcast, so let's get back to the ARCA racing real quick. We got Mid-Ohio this weekend. You know, when Mid-Ohio first became on the ARCA schedule, I was not a fan of it. The first race was not really entertaining at all. Ty Gibbs just kind of ran away with it. There was only about 17 cars entered in that race, like 4 pulled off within 3 laps. The race itself was just not good. I mean, I tried to give it a chance, but it just was no good. And it warmed my heart to see not just a bigger entry list, not just by a couple cars, but by 8 extra cars from a 17-car field in 2021 to a 25-car field in 2022 with hardly any starting parks. I can finally say I am excited for this race. You know, because in 2001, I keep botching my years. In 2021, we had 17 show up, and literally the 02 of Mark Green, the 48 of Brad Smith, the 11 of Tony Cosentino, the 01 of Owen Smith, all gone in the first couple laps. Literally, we only had 11 cars attempt the whole distance. I mean, and then Ty Gibbs just ran away with it. Nobody could catch him. So it warmed my heart to see for the 2022 Dawn 150, a stacked 25-car field with some notable truck names. We see in the truck series, 5 truck drivers will be attempting this race. John Hunter Nemechek, Colby Howard, Blaine Perkins, Jack Wood, and I'm missing someone, Chris Wright, will be the 5 drivers who are going to be running the ARCA race to get some extra seat time. John Hunter Nemechek will be running for Venerini. Blaine Perkins, Colby Howard, and Jack Wood will be running for Bill McNally. And Chris Wright will be running for Bruce Cook. All 3 are very, very good organizations. So, you know, those guys are going to be contenders for a win. Sammy Smith, also a very accomplished road course racer. We'll see how he does. Taylor Gray, he's been pretty good on the road courses. You know, I'm excited to see how Stanton Barrett, yes, Stan Barrett, stuntman, Stanton Barrett will be back for Andy Hillenberg this weekend. I'm excited to see how he does again. And the Fast Track Racing 11 after getting a 6th place finish there last season. I'm just so, I cannot tell you guys how excited for this race I am. In terms of the starting parks, I see the starting parks being the 01 of D.L. Wilson, mainly because the 01 has starting parked literally this entire season. And maybe the 12 of Tony Cosentino. I hope Tony runs the whole race because he is kind of a road racer. I hope he does run the whole thing. Con Nicolopoulos will also be doing a starting park as well. But I believe that's it. We also got some old guys in the field. We got the quarterman, Dale Quarterly is back. And Dr. Ed Bull. Yes, Ed Bull is back. Oh, I love Ed Bull. And who's Ed Bull? I mean, Ed Bull was around in the early 2010s in the ARCA series. He drove the 3, he drove the 28, he drove all different types of numbers. He always drove a blue car. And it's just so great to see him back. You know, Ed Bull tried to run the Watkins Glen race last year. They showed up there, but the car just wouldn't start. They had fuel pressure problems. Well, they got the problem fixed. The car runs fine. They took 1.7 off. They were going to run the 77 last year. They are running the 7 this year in a partnership with Eric Caudell, but Dr. Ed Bull is back. We all love Dr. Ed, and we want him to – I hope he does really good. I hope he runs the whole distance, and I hope he gives that 7 car a good run. So, yeah, I really love seeing Dr. Ed back. Parker Chase is back in the 15 after a couple of races out for Venerini. Of course, Tony Breidinger in the 25. Jesse Love is back in the 20. My man, Alex Clubb, going to be a tough weekend for them. They got 2 cars this weekend. Casey Carden in the 3, Rita Thomason in the 03. So going to be interesting to see how those guys do. I know those guys work hard, so going to definitely be cheering for them to have good runs. Arnold Caulk, unfortunately, he had the crash at Kansas, which was just so sad to see because I like Arnie. But good to see him. He'll be back. He is a full race driver because he's pretty good on the road courses. Greg Van Alst, of course, Daniel Dye, who has been gotten pretty good on the road courses, running the West races, trying to get some more road course experience. Who I have left out and I am concerned for, Rev Racing. Rev Racing, the last 3 races, has really struggled. Now you say, well, Colby, they've gotten top 10 finishes and some solid runs, while their competitors are finishing above them. I really haven't seen the speed this week, the past couple of races for them. Am I a little concerned for Rev Racing this weekend? Absolutely. I feel like Sanchez might be fine because he did run this race last season, but how will Raja do? I think this is a race that Daniel Dye could really take advantage of with them. I could see him passing them in the points. Excuse me one sec, guys. Sorry, I've been dealing with some allergies. Going back to what I was saying, Rev has just been kind of struggling to get the right amount of speed out of their cars. And I could see that same thing happening this weekend. Mid-Ohio is not an easy road course. But their point standings leads have come down a little bit. It's gotten a lot closer. They're not tied anymore. They are not tied anymore in the points. Raja's got a 5-point lead over Nick Sanchez, but just a 9-point lead after Daniel Dye. And with a 25-car field this weekend, that could very easily change. So I don't want to see anything bad happen to them, but I do predict that the 6 is going to struggle this weekend. I mean, we haven't really seen Raj on the road courses. I know he's probably been iRacing Mid-Ohio like crap, but at the end of the day, iRacing a track really is not really going to help. I mean, it will help your braking points, but you can't really judge, that car, that track online to the actual track. That's one thing I've always said. iRacing is a great, helpful tool, but at the end of the day, driving the track in a simulator versus the real deal are still completely 2 different things. And you cannot tell me that otherwise. This is coming from a guy who hasn't done a lot of iRacing, but I've also been on the track before in a car in a driving experience. It's 2 different things. But yeah, guys, I can tell you I'm really excited for this race. Once again, guys, it's one of those races you can't predict the winner. And when I've said that, it makes me happy because it really shows the strength that the ARCA series has gained back ever since the pandemic. It's great going into a weekend, not expecting the 18 of, Gibbs just to win like he always did. It's great knowing going into a weekend, I can't predict the winner. I can't tell you guys who's going to win. I can't even tell you guys the top 3. If I had to give you guys some picks this weekend to watch out for, I would definitely say Sammy Smith. Sammy Smith, for sure. John Hunter Nemechek, I think he'll be the best Venerini entry. And I would even go as far as to say Jack Wood. Jack Wood has been very good on the road courses as well. Some underdogs to watch out for. Stanton Barrett, of course. Definitely Dale Quarterly and Chris Wright, because Chris has been pretty good on the road courses, actually. Like I said, point standings coming into this race. We only got the 3 drivers in contention. It is getting a little bit heated up in the back part. Tony Breidinger is in 4th, but she only holds a 4-point lead over Greg Van Alst. So this could be Greg Van Alst's opportunity to climb up to 4th in the points. After a couple of bad runs, Amber Balkin has fallen to 6th in the points, minus 65. Unfortunately, he did announce, and he is watching with us live, but he did announce, sadly, that Zachary Tinkle will not be in this race. You guys didn't hear me say his name. Zachary Tinkle will not be in this weekend's race, so he will no longer be a full-timer in the points. So that means after this race, I do expect Zachary to start falling down the line, unfortunately. He's only 3 points ahead of Brad, so Brad will probably overtake him in the points. Sammy Smith is down in 9th. I do predict that Sammy will probably get up to about 6th or 5th in the points. Obviously doesn't have a shot at the championship, but definitely I think we'll still have a shot at a top 5 points finish. In terms of the Owners' Championship, that is also getting very close. Billy Venturini and the 20 team still winning right now. They have a 15-point gap over the 2 Siegel entries. 6 is 15 points back, and the 2 is 20 points back. But watch that 18. The 18 of Kyle Busch is only 22 points back in the points, and the 43 for Murray Gallagher is 24 points back, with the only other car I see really in contention, the 15 Bill Venturini entry, which is 28 points behind. Those are the 6 cars that are still in contention for the Owners' Championship. Andy Hillenberg still holding on to the coveted 10th place position, with his cars being 10th, 11th, 13th, and 16th. David Richmond's car is 15th. Brad is 14th in the Owners' points. Alex is 03 is 12th. So those are kind of the point standings rundown. If you guys want me to give a pick, for this race, my pick is still John Hunter Nemechek. I know Sammy Smith is a great road racer. I know he is, but I think John Hunter Nemechek, he's just been a beast in the Truck Series this season. Even though he hasn't won a lot of races, he's still shown the speed. He's my pick to win this weekend. I think the part-time Venturini car gets a win this week in the 55. I predict Sammy Smith will finish 2nd, and I'm just going to say my pick for 3rd is Daniel Dye. I am going to throw a shot out there saying that Carruth probably will lose the points lead. I just don't see him being able to be competitive with those other guys. I think Sanchez and especially Dye will be a lot quicker than him. But obviously, that's just speculation right now. We'll see it this Friday. Really, guys, I would make sure if you're not doing anything on your Friday nights, it's not even that late. So you still have time, to do, your Friday night activities. It is live, 5 p.m. I believe Eastern or Central time. We're looking at the schedule right now. It is Friday, 4 o'clock Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern, guys. On, of course, MAV TV. Is this going to be a MAV TV or Fox event? I don't know if anyone can confirm that for me. Also on Flow Racing for the people who have Flow Racing. If you guys are wondering about the payouts for this race, we'll go over that real quick as kind of the last portion right here. Mid-Ohio's kind of been the standard entry lists payouts. First place is $10,000 with all the contingency awards available. The top finishing prize is $18,375. Second place is $9,700, and third place is $6,400. With 25 cars in the field, the lowest purse money total is $1,500. Obviously, of course, first through 20th will get an extra $200 added to their purse money. So definitely, a lot of those guys will be one in that top 20 to get that extra $200. Again, to go over it lastly, like I said earlier, our starting parks in this race more than likely will be D.L. Wilson in the 01. Not sure yet on the 12 of Tony Cosentino, the 27 of Con Nicolopoulos, and of course the 48 of Brad Smith. Unfortunately, Brad, he's not a road course racer. He doesn't want to hurt the car. So I highly, highly doubt Brad will run the whole race. I highly doubt Brad runs more than 3 laps. I've talked with Brad. He's never been a fan of the road courses. Pretty much if you look at his ARCA results, anytime they went to a road course, they're not good. He doesn't like them. He's never been a big fan of those. But still, nonetheless, guys, please give this race a chance. If you're not doing anything on your Fridays, I know 4 p.m. is a little early. So, if you guys got the chance, turn it on. I'll be doing live race updates so you guys can follow. If you guys can't watch the race, but you can have Twitter, follow me on Twitter, and I'll definitely give you guys live race updates. We're at 49 minutes here. We have 6 people watching live. Again, guys, can't thank you enough for your continued support. Like I said, we just hit 350. Please keep liking and subscribing, guys. My next giveaway will be at 500 subs. We might be 150 away, but if we keep doing what you guys are doing, we will be there in no time. And trust me, the giveaway at 500 will be must get. I got a very special prize for you guys, so I want to give it away. I want to get there. I also do have some news. I'm kind of making an announcement of an announcement here, but I am going to be moving into another. It's not a new, but I'm going to be moving into another career in the next couple weeks that I'm going to be announcing shortly. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to be doing any of my crew duties, but I'm going to be adding something to my crew duties. And it's something that I really feel like is going to make me stand out. And it's something that I hope makes me feel more special to you guys. Because after all, you guys are the ones who really make this possible. And you guys are the ones who really, make me feel like, and you guys give me the confidence to be able to do this. So I'm not saying I'm not crewing anymore, but definitely the opportunities to crew may be going down because of this new career, but it's definitely going to lead me to hopefully some bigger and better opportunities. And for my last thing, I am making another custom diecast, and I can't wait to show you guys. I'll be showing it to you guys on next week's show. But so yeah, I got some fun things in the works coming up here. Definitely wish the best to all the ARCA teams this weekend. We've seen the road course races be kind of a mess. But I love it. I'm excited for it. Good luck to all my friends out there, Alex Club, Richmond, Brad, all my friends out there. Just give it. You know the words. I can't say it on here, but you know the phrase I want to say. And again, guys, we'll catch you guys next week with the ARCA Racing Podcast for our Mid-Ohio review. Thanks again for your continued support, and we'll catch you all next week, and have a good rest of your Wednesday night. So long, guys. Love y'all.